Okay, for this video we're going to look at how to do a produced and consumed tag using CompactLogix. We did a message instruction, which is actually an instruction in the ladder logic to move data from one processor to another. The produced and consumed tags, that's a connection between two processors, actually two tags in processors that they are linked together, and they stay up to date in the background, so you don't actually have to write a ladder logic instruction to copy the data from one to the other. So first thing we need to do is figure out where we're sending the data to and from and everything. But to do a produced and consumed tag, all these instructions we did with the message instruction, we did with the processor online and everything. We just did it live. What to do, set up a produce and consume tag. Like I said, we have to go offline, and there's a few things we have to set up to make that work. So the first thing I'm going to do is go up here. We're going to go offline, and to make a produced and consumed tag, the processor that's doing the consuming, that's actually taking in the data, you have to make the other processor part of its I/O configuration. So to do that, these processors, we can link them together over the Ethernet network. So if I come down here under my I/O configuration, I have the bus, my processor, my embedded I/O, and then my expansion I/O that is the cards that's plugged in. There's the Ethernet down here, and I can add devices over the Ethernet to my I/O configuration. So if I come down here to Ethernet and right click, I can select new module, and I'm in MC1 currently, the one with the IP address of 10.10.10.113, and I want to connect to a tag in the MC2 at 10.10.10.115. So I'm adding a module, and I'm going to clear this filter and come down here and say I just want to see controllers, and I just want to see Allen Bradley controllers. So now in my window down here it lists different Allen Bradley controllers. The two CompactLogix controllers are 1769 L24ER QB1Bs. So if I go down through here, that's what I'm looking for. It's my 1769 L24ER-QB1B. So that's what the other processor is. So I'm going to click Create. I'm going to give the same name that the processor has. I don't have to. I can give it any name I want, but just to make so it's all makes sense for someone following me, that when if I named it something different than the actual processor name, that it could get confusing as to what the remote processor is. So I'm calling it MC2, and the IP address is the IP address of that processor, which is 10.10.10.115. Click OK, close, and you see that it's created another module underneath my Ethernet link on the processor. So that's the first thing I need to do. Now the next thing I need to do is create the consume tag, and I need to do that again while I'm offline. It will not let me do it while I'm online. So I'm going to come up here to controller tags and right click and create a new tag, and we're going to call this G_dent, because I'm going to do a dent again. We're going to call this consumed. So I just named it G_dent consumed. I can name it anything I want, but that's just for my own, so I don't get it confused with anything else. So I know that that's a consumed tag. And down here in the tag type, where you set up alias tags before, when you're offline, it gives you the option of doing setting up produced and consumed. So we're going to set up a consume, and when you set up the consume side of this equation, you have to actually configure the connection. So So when I click on the connection button, it's asking me who the producer is. Well, when I configured the other processor down there under my Ethernet tree, that will populate this list. So if I had multiple processors under my Ethernet branch on my tree, they would all be listed here. But since I just added the one, click on MC2, and the remote data is the name of the tag in the other processor that's going to actually be producing the data. So I'm going to go name the other one G_dent, and we're going to call it produced. Click OK. Create. So now I've got a controller tag that's a consume tag that's consuming data out of the other processor through this link here that we just set up. So I'm going to go ahead and download this. Download. Change back to run mode. And you notice now my I/O light is flashing. So if I come down here, I don't know if you can see it on here, but I've got the little yellow triangle next to my MC2. Tell me that there's an error with that communication path. And what that error is where I set up that consume tag. It's trying to consume data from a tag that's not created yet in the other processor, so it's giving me an error. So once I go over here and actually set up the produce tag, that error should clear and go away. So let's go over here to MC2, and I'm going to, again, I have to go offline to create produced and consumed tags. I'm going to go offline, create a new tag, and we're going to call this G_dent produced. I'm going to set it up as a produce tag, and I don't have to set up a connection on here because it's just a tag set up to be produced, and then the other processor is actually consuming it. So if you just look at the connection here, it just asks you how many consumers can you have actually reading this bit, and we're just going to leave that as 1. So I'm going to click create. So now I've created the produce tag in this controller, so I'm going to click download my changes. I'm going to download. Okay, so now I have my tag here. It's produced. It's got a 0 in it right now. We're just going to leave it there for now. Let's go back and check and see if my error went away. And it did. Notice my triangle's gone. And my I/O light's no longer flashing, indicating an issue. So if I go to my controller tags up here, so here's my consume tag, and it's sitting there as a 0. So if I go over here to produced and I punch in a number, so we'll punch in 99. Now when I come over here to my consumed, you'll see that there's a 99 in my consumed. So there's no instruction, no message instruction or anything that has to move that data. This is all done in the background. So if I change that to 25, you can see that it's updating my consume tag. And an instance where you might use this is machines on an assembly line. If you're passing information from one machine to the next as a product moves down the line, this could be a way to transfer that data from one processor to the next, from machine to machine, as a box moves down the line from one operation to the next. So I mean, just lots of different applications for this, but I just wanted to show you that there's more than one way to move data between processors. Like I said, you can write the message instruction in the ladder, or if you have some specific data where it's just a single tag, you can use produce and consume tags with the CompactLogix. So if you have any questions, just contact me through the discussion board, or stop by my office or give me a call, and we can I'll see what I can do to help you. Thanks.